Sarah, you look absolutely radiant, Aunt Margaret gushed, adjusting my veil for the 100th time. Jake is so lucky to have you. I forced a smile and nodded, but inside I felt like I was drowning. Everything was supposed to be perfect, but nothing felt right. Where's Jake? I asked, scanning the reception hall. Oh, he's over there with his family, she pointed toward a group near the bar, making sure everyone's drinks are filled. Such a thoughtful boy. I watched my husband of 3 hours schmoozing with his relatives, barely glancing in my direction. When was the last time he'd even looked at me today? Hey there, beautiful bride. Marcus appeared beside me, holding 2 champagne glasses. You look like you could use this. Thanks. I accepted the drink gratefully. At least someone was paying attention to me. Jake's really working the room, isn't he? Marcus said, following my gaze. Yeah, he's good at that. I took a long sip of champagne. Sometimes I feel like I'm just part of the event planning. Marcus turned to face me fully. Are you kidding? You're the star of this whole show. He should be glued to your side. Should be, I muttered. Sarah! Jake's voice called from across the room. Come meet my boss. I waved back but didn't move. See what I mean? Forget about them for a minute, Marcus said softly. Dance with me? I hesitated. I should probably. One dance. You deserve to enjoy your own wedding. His hand was warm as he led me to a quiet corner of the dance floor. For the first time all day, someone was looking at me like I mattered. You know, he whispered as we swayed to the music. I always thought Jake was crazy for not proposing sooner. Marcus, I'm serious. If you were mine, I'd never let you feel invisible. The champagne was making me dizzy, or maybe it was the way he was looking at me when he suggested we get some air. I followed him without thinking. The bridal suite was supposed to be off limits until later, but Marcus had somehow gotten a key. We shouldn't be here, I whispered, but I didn't leave. We shouldn't do a lot of things, he said, stepping closer. When he kissed me, I kissed him back. When he said I was beautiful, I believed him. When he made me feel wanted, I forgot everything else. I forgot about my dress, my vows, my husband downstairs. I forgot everything until I heard the door open. Sarah? I was looking for... What the hell? Jake stood in the doorway, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, and finally, devastating heartbreak. I scrambled away from Marcus, my wedding dress twisted around my legs. Jake, I can explain. But the look in his eyes told me there was nothing I could ever say to fix this. Explain? Jake's voice cracked. Explain what exactly? Why my wife is making out with my best friend on our wedding day? I stood there in my ruined dress, lipstick smeared, unable to form words. Marcus stepped forward. Jake, man, this is my fault. Don't. Jake held up his hand, his eyes never leaving mine. Don't you dare speak to me. Please, let me explain, I begged, reaching toward him. 3 hours, Jake said quietly. We've been married for 3 hours, Sarah. 3 hours. I know it looks bad. It looks bad? His voice rose. You're in our bridal suite with my best friend, and it looks bad? The door burst open behind him. His mother Helen rushed in, followed by my sister Emma. Jake, honey, what's wrong? People are asking where you... Helen stopped mid-sentence, taking in the scene. Oh my God! Emma's face went pale. Sarah, what did you do? It's not what it looks like, I said weakly, knowing how ridiculous that sounded. Really? Jake's voice was ice cold now. Because it looks like my wife just destroyed our marriage before we even had a honeymoon. Helen gasped. Sarah, how could you? I don't know. The words exploded out of me. I don't know why I did it. I felt alone and ignored and... So you slept with Marcus? Jake shouted. We didn't sleep together. It was just... Just what? Just a kiss? Just fooling around in the room where we're supposed to spend our wedding night? Marcus tried again. Jake, I take full responsibility. Get out, Jake said without looking at him. Get out of my sight before I do something I'll regret. Marcus hesitated, glancing at me. Sarah. Go! Jake roared. Marcus left quickly. Emma followed him, probably to make sure he actually left the hotel. That left me alone with Jake and his mother. "I'm calling off the reception," Helen said, pulling out her phone. "No," I said desperately. "Please, we can work through this." Jake laughed bitterly. "Work through this? You cheated on me on our wedding day, Sarah, at our wedding reception, with my best friend." He pulled off his wedding ring and set it on the dresser. The sound it made when it hit the wood was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. "I never want to see you again," he said quietly. "I'll have my lawyer contact you about the divorce." "Jake, please," but he was already walking away. Helen followed, shaking her head in disgust. I sank onto the bed in my wedding dress, listening to the sounds of our reception ending early. Through the window, I could see guests leaving, their faces confused and disappointed. By midnight, the hotel was quiet. Our marriage was over before it had really begun, and it was entirely my fault. I sat on the edge of our king-sized bed, still in my wedding dress, staring at Jake's wedding ring on the dresser. My phone buzzed constantly, Marcus calling over and over. I let it ring. The silence was deafening. Just hours ago, music and laughter had filled the halls below. Now there was nothing but the hum of the air conditioner and my own ragged breathing. Knock, knock. "Sarah, it's me." Emma's voice was soft through the door. I didn't answer. "I'm coming in." She used her key card. She was my maid of honor, after all. She found me exactly where I'd been sitting for the past 2 hours, mascara streaked down my cheeks, bouquet wilted on the floor. "Oh, honey." She sat beside me carefully, avoiding my train. "What were you thinking?" "I don't know." My voice was barely a whisper. "I honestly don't know. Jake's devastated. His whole family is in shock." "Where is he?" "He left. Took his suitcase and drove to the airport. He's going to Bali alone." "Our honeymoon. He was going on our honeymoon without me. Marcus has been calling everyone, trying to explain." "Stop." I held up my hand. "I don't want to hear his name. You need to call Mom and Dad. They're worried sick." I shook my head. "I can't face them. I can't face anyone." Emma sighed. "Sarah, you made a mistake." "A mistake?" I laughed bitterly. "Emma, I destroyed my marriage on my wedding day. I betrayed the man I love with his best friend. This isn't a mistake, it's a disaster." "Why did you do it?" That was the question I'd been asking myself for hours. I felt invisible. Jake was so busy making sure everyone else was happy. And Marcus made me feel wanted. "So you kissed him?" "It wasn't supposed to happen. We were just talking, and then we were dancing, and then..." I buried my face in my hands. "I'm a horrible person." "You're not horrible, you're human. Humans make stupid decisions sometimes." "Not decisions like this. Not on their wedding day." My phone buzzed again. "Marcus," I finally answered. "Sarah, thank God, are you okay?" "Am I okay?" I couldn't believe he was asking that. "Marcus, what we did was wrong. So wrong." "I know, but maybe this is a sign." "A sign of what?" "That we're meant to be together. We've always had this connection." I hung up. Emma raised her eyebrows. "He thinks this means we should be together," I said flatly. "And you?" I looked at Jake's ring again. "I think I just threw away the best thing that ever happened to me for someone who doesn't even understand what love means." Emma hugged me carefully, mindful of my dress. "You need to get out of that gown." "I don't want to take it off. Once I do, it's really over." "Honey, it's already over. Jake made that pretty clear." I knew she was right, but I couldn't bring myself to move. So I sat there, in my wedding dress, until dawn, mourning the marriage that lasted exactly 3 hours. My phone rang at 8 a.m. sharp. I'd finally changed out of my wedding dress and into sweats, but I hadn't slept. "Is this Sarah Miller?" The voice was professional, cold. "It's Sarah Mitchell," I corrected automatically, then caught myself. "Actually, no, it's Miller. What do you want?" "This is David Crane, Mr. Mitchell's attorney. I'm calling regarding divorce proceedings. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Divorce? Already? Mr. Mitchell would like to proceed as quickly as possible. Given the circumstances, he's requesting an uncontested divorce. The circumstances, I repeated numbly. The adultery, ma'am. We have multiple witnesses. I closed my eyes. I understand. I'll be sending paperwork to your address. Please have your attorney review everything. I don't have an attorney. I'd recommend getting one. Good day, Mrs. Miller. The line went dead. 3 hours after saying I do, I was already getting divorced. My phone rang again immediately. Sarah! Lisa's voice was frantic. Are you okay? I heard what happened. News travels fast. Are you kidding? It's all over social media. Someone posted a video of Jake leaving the hotel alone. Great. Now our humiliation was public. Lisa, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay? Am I a terrible person? Long pause. Sarah, what you did was terrible. But you're not a terrible person. You're my friend, and I love you, but I can't pretend this was okay. At least she was honest. Some of the other girls are, well, they're taking sides. Jake's side. Can you blame them? Sarah, this is bad. Really bad. After she hung up, I called my mother. Oh, sweetheart. Mom's voice was thick with tears. Come home. Just come home. I have to return all the wedding gifts first and explain to everyone what happened. No, you don't. Emma and I will handle that. Mom, I need to take responsibility. You need to take care of yourself first. But Marcus had other ideas. He showed up at my hotel room door that afternoon with flowers. We need to talk, he said when I opened the door. No, we don't. Sarah, listen. We've burned our bridges. We might as well be together. I stared at him in disbelief. You think I want to be with you? Don't we have feelings for each other? Marcus, I don't love you. I never loved you. What happened yesterday was me being stupid and selfish and drunk. That's it. His face fell. But we have a connection. We have nothing. What we did destroyed my marriage and your friendship with Jake. We're both going to have to live with that, but we're not going to live with it together. I closed the door in his face. For the first time since yesterday, I'd done the right thing. But it was too little, too late. Moving back into my childhood bedroom felt like admitting defeat. My parents had left my room exactly as it was when I moved out 3 years ago to live with Jake, posters of boy bands and graduation photos still on the walls. Honey, you need to eat something, Dad said, standing in my doorway with a plate of scrambled eggs. I'm not hungry. It's been 3 days. You have to eat. I took the plate to make him happy, but I couldn't force anything down. Food tasted like cardboard. Everything felt numb. My phone buzzed with a text from Tom, one of Jake's friends. Heard about Jake. He's not doing well. Took leave from work. The guilt hit me like a truck. I wasn't the only one suffering. Jake was hurting too, and it was all my fault. Sarah? Mom knocked softly. Marcus is here. I don't want to see him. I told him that, but he says it's important. I dragged myself downstairs. Marcus was pacing in our living room, looking as miserable as I felt. What do you want? I've been thinking about what you said, and you're wrong. We do have something special. Marcus, stop. No, listen. We both made this choice. We both decided that what we felt was worth the risk. I didn't decide anything, I snapped. I made a stupid, selfish mistake because I was feeling sorry for myself. You can. Tell me you didn't feel something. I felt wanted for 5 minutes. That's it. I threw away 3 years of love for 5 minutes of feeling wanted. His face crumpled. So you regret it? Of course I regret it. I regret it every second of every day. But if we're both alone now, we're alone because of what we did. Don't you get that? This isn't some romantic story where we end up together. This is real life, where actions have consequences. He left after that, finally understanding that I wanted nothing to do with him. But the damage was done. Tom called later that evening. "Sarah, I know it's not my place, but Jake is really struggling. He won't talk to anyone." "How is he?" "Heartbroken. He keeps asking what he did wrong, why you didn't just talk to him if you were unhappy." The knife in my chest twisted deeper. Tell him. Tell him it wasn't his fault. It was all me. Maybe you should tell him yourself. He never wants to see me again. He made that clear. People say things when they're hurt. But I knew Jake. When he said something, he meant it, and I'd given him every reason to hate me. That night, I stared at the ceiling and finally admitted the truth to myself. I hadn't just betrayed Jake. I'd betrayed everything I claimed to believe about love, loyalty, and commitment. I needed help, professional help, because I couldn't live with this guilt anymore, and I couldn't keep destroying the people I cared about. Dr. Amanda Torres had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Her office was warm and welcoming, nothing like the sterile therapy rooms I'd imagined. "Tell me why you're here, Sarah." "I cheated on my husband at our wedding reception, with his best friend, 3 hours after we got married." The words came out flat, factual. "How do you feel about that?" "Like the worst person who ever lived." "What do you think drove you to make that choice?" I'd been asking myself that question for weeks. I felt invisible. Jake was so focused on making everyone else happy, and I felt like I didn't matter. "So you sought validation elsewhere?" "I guess, but that's not an excuse." "I'm not looking for excuses, Sarah. I'm looking for understanding. Tell me about your relationship with Jake." We talked for an hour. Dr. Torres helped me see patterns I'd never noticed. How I'd always run away when relationships got too serious. How I sabotaged good things when I felt vulnerable. "I want to write him a letter," I said as our session ended. "Not to get him back, just to apologize properly." "That sounds like a healthy step." I spent 3 days writing and rewriting Jake's letter. I wanted every word to be perfect, not because I expected forgiveness, but because he deserved the truth. "Jake, I know you never want to see me again, and I respect that. But I need you to know that what I did had nothing to do with you, and everything to do with my own brokenness. You were a wonderful husband for the 3 hours we were married. You were a wonderful boyfriend for 3 years before that. You loved me better than I deserved, and I threw it away because I was scared of being truly happy. I've started therapy to figure out why I sabotage everything good in my life. I don't expect you to care, but I thought you should know that I'm trying to become the person you believed I could be. You deserve someone who won't run when things get real. Someone who won't hurt you the way I did. I hope you find that person. I will regret what I did for the rest of my life. Not because I lost you, but because I hurt you. Sarah." I also wrote to his parents, apologizing for ruining their son's wedding day and breaking their trust. I didn't expect responses to any of the letters. "How did it feel to write them?" Dr. Torres asked at our next session. Like I was finally taking responsibility instead of just feeling sorry for myself. That's an important distinction. "I keep thinking about something you said last week, about running away when things get too real." "What about it?" "I think I've been running my whole life, from every good thing that ever happened to me. And now? Now I want to learn how to stay. It was a small step, but it was a beginning. I couldn't undo what I'd done, but maybe I could make sure I never hurt anyone like that again." The postal worker who processed my letters looked bored, stamping them without interest. He had no idea he was handling my attempts at redemption. "The divorce is final," my lawyer said, sliding papers across his desk. "Everything's been settled according to your agreement." I signed my name for the last time as Sarah Mitchell. It felt like closing a book I'd barely gotten to read. 6 months had passed since the wedding. 6 months of therapy, of sleepless nights, of learning to live with what I'd done. Any word from Jake? Lisa asked when I met her for coffee that afternoon. She was one of the few friends who'd stuck by me. He's dating someone. I stirred my latte absently. Nina something. Tom says she's really nice. How does that make you feel? Happy for him, I said, surprised to realize I meant it. He deserves someone who won't hurt him. And you? Are you dating? God, no. I can barely handle being alone with myself, let alone inflicting myself on someone else. Lisa smiled sadly. You're being too hard on yourself. I cheated on my husband at our wedding reception, Lisa. I don't think I'm being hard enough. But therapy was helping. Dr. Torres was teaching me to separate my actions from my worth as a person. I'd done something terrible, but that didn't make me irredeemable. I want to start volunteering, I told her during one session. What kind of volunteering? I don't know, something that helps people. Maybe women who've made mistakes like I did. She helped me find Sanctuary House, a shelter for women in crisis. The director, Maria, was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who'd seen everything. What makes you want to work here? She asked during my interview. I made a choice that destroyed my marriage and hurt everyone I loved. I can't undo that, but maybe I can help other women avoid making similar mistakes. You think you're the first woman to cheat on her husband? No, but... Sarah, every woman who walks through these doors has a story. Some worse than yours, some different. What matters is what you do next. I started volunteering 3 days a week. My job was simple. Listen to women tell their stories without judgment. Help them see that their worst moments didn't define them. I slept with my sister's husband. Janet, a fellow volunteer, told me one day. Lost my whole family over it. How do you live with it? One day at a time, and by helping women like Rebecca over there. She nodded toward a young woman crying in the corner. She thinks her life is over because she got arrested for shoplifting to feed her kids. Isn't it? Honey, if our worst mistakes ended our lives, this place would be a morgue. We help them see that rock bottom is just a place to build from. I was learning that redemption wasn't about being forgiven. It was about forgiving yourself while never forgetting the lessons your mistakes taught you. I was ordering my usual Frida, the afternoon latte, when I heard a familiar laugh behind me. My blood turned to ice. Jake was sitting at a corner table with a beautiful brunette, holding her hand across the table. He looked happy. Really, genuinely happy, in a way I hadn't seen in months before our wedding. For a moment I considered leaving. But something Dr. Torres had said about facing difficult situations head-on made me change my mind. I approached their table slowly, my heart hammering. Hi, Jake. He looked up, and for a split second I saw the old hurt flash across his face. Then it was gone, replaced by careful politeness. Sarah. Hi. The brunette squeezed his hand supportively. She was even prettier up close, with kind eyes and a genuine smile. This is Nina, Jake said. Nina, this is Sarah, my ex-wife. It's nice to meet you, Nina said graciously. She had no reason to be kind to me, but she was anyway. Congratulations, I said, noticing the engagement ring on her finger. Tom told me you two are engaged. Thank you, Jake said carefully. How are you doing? I'm okay, better than I was. I looked at Nina. He's a good man, the best actually. You're very lucky. I know, she said, smiling at Jake. He talks about you sometimes. I felt my chest tighten. He does? He says you taught him what he needed in a partner, Nina continued. Someone who won't run when things get difficult. The irony wasn't lost on me. My betrayal had shown Jake exactly what he needed to look for in his next relationship. I'm glad he found that, I said sincerely. Are you seeing anyone? Jake asked. No, I'm not ready for that yet. I'm focusing on myself. Therapy, volunteering. I paused. I'm working at a women's shelter now. Something shifted in Jake's expression. That's good, Sarah. That's really good. I wrote you letters, I said quietly. I don't know if you read them. I read them. I didn't expect you to respond. I needed you to know that I take full responsibility for what happened. I know you do. The barista called my name. My latte was ready. I should go, I said. But Jake, I'm really happy for you both. You deserve all the happiness in the world. Thanks, Sarah, and I hope you find peace. I'm working on it. I walked away feeling strangely lighter. Seeing Jake happy, really happy, with someone who clearly adored him made me realize something important. Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting someone go so they can find what they actually need. Nina would never hurt Jake the way I had. She would never run when things got real, never sabotage their happiness out of fear or selfishness. I'd lost the love of my life, but he'd found his. Maybe that was enough. Tell me about your progress, Dr. Torres said during what would be our final regular session. I don't hate myself anymore, I said. That's something, right? That's everything, Sarah. 2 years had passed since my wedding day disaster. 2 years of therapy, volunteering, and learning to live with my choices. I got a job offer, I said. Full-time position at Sanctuary House. Maria wants me to coordinate their counseling program. How do you feel about that? Scared? Excited? Ready? I paused. I never thought my biggest mistake would lead me to my purpose, but here we are. You've done the work, Sarah. You've earned this. At the shelter, I'd found my calling. Women came to us broken, ashamed, convinced their mistakes had ruined their lives forever. I helped them see what I'd learned, that rock bottom could be a foundation. Sarah, can I talk to you? Rebecca, one of our residents, knocked on my office door. Of course, come in. She was a young mother who'd made some bad choices with an abusive partner. When she first arrived, she could barely look anyone in the eye. I got the job, she said, grinning. Rebecca, that's wonderful. I start Monday, and I found an apartment I can afford. She sat down across from my desk. Sarah, when I first got here, I thought my life was over. You helped me see that it was just beginning. You did the work. I just listened. No, it was more than that. You made me believe that people could change, that mistakes didn't have to define us. After she left, I sat in my office thinking about how far I'd come. I still thought about Jake sometimes, but without the crushing guilt that used to consume me. I hoped he was happy. From what I heard through mutual friends, he and Nina were blissfully married. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi, Sarah, this is Alex from the coffee shop. You forgot your book. Would you like to grab dinner sometime to discuss it? I smiled. Alex was the owner of the bookstore cafe where I'd been spending my Saturday mornings. We'd been having increasingly long conversations about literature and life. He was kind, patient, and had a way of making me laugh. For the first time in 2 years, I felt ready to try again, not because I was running from my past, but because I'd finally made peace with it. I'd like that, I texted back. I looked around my office, certificates on the wall, photos of women I'd helped, thank you letters from clients who'd rebuilt their lives. This wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was a life I was proud of. I'd made a terrible mistake that cost me everything I thought I wanted, but in losing everything, I'd found something better. Myself. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Alex. There's a new Thai place downtown, tomorrow at 7? Perfect, I replied. Tomorrow was a new day, and for the first time in a long time, I was excited to see what it would bring.